No, it's either working or it's not. It's Schrödinger's podcast.
Yeah, it's both recording and not recording at the same time.
It's the Loose Screws podcast. Once again, your old boys back again with more hijinks.
Hey, who you calling old?
Well, I turned 40 between this episode and the last one I was on.
He's old. Oh my God, now I'm old 26 to 40 that quick? That's crazy. It's only been a week.
And he's going to be 40 for the next 40 years.
Anyway, I feel like that means I'm allowed to call us all old. We're all in this together.
That makes you an honorary member of the Grumpy Old Man Club.
Whatever gets your Metamucil.
Junior member.
Yeah, you can cut my grass.
I don't know. Oh, Lord. Now I don't remember what I've said already. It's the Loose Screws podcast. Starting. I'm Commander Jantrax. I'm joined today by Commander Chig.
Hi!
Commander Indigo. Sorry, Commander Indigo.
Thank you.
Boob.
Get it right. You're the reason I still have it.
Oh, no. Shoot, now he's not heard in Discord again. You are... I'm going to turn you up in the caster thing so I can hear you anyway.
He's just staying and... yeah.
All right, sorry. Commander Indigo.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, we can hear you.
I can always hear me. I don't know what your problem is. I think it sounds like a you problem, isn't it?
I've got an app that keeps track of all the things wrong with me. You don't need to see that.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
The struggles with our recording system continue, but one way or another, now I have two places I can listen to people. So if I don't hear them on one, I'll turn them up on the other one.
You poor bastard.
Yeah.
And Commander Nurgle is also here.
Howdy, howdy.
All right. So, gosh, what are we into today? It's going to be, what do they call it? A bumper episode?
Oh, yeah.
It's update 15 went down. So here's how I want to handle this.
Wait, what was the date?
It's the 15th of the 5th month of the year 2023. Or
33773. No.
I'm so angry. Okay. It's those dates. It is episode number. We have episode numbers too. It is 184, episode 184.
Oh, my lucky number. Sweet.
Okay. So anyway, so update 15 happened since the last episode came out, and we've had a few days now to chew on it and pick on and pick through some of the new stuff. How I would like to handle it is to go and do kind of our regular segments at the beginning, and then at that point we'll go spoiler zone in case there's anybody out here, because it's been less than a week since the update. It's been 6 days. So if anybody hasn't experienced some of it and wants to unspoiled, they don't have to miss the show if they don't want to, so they can jump out at that point. And then there will be no non-spoiler related content after that mark, so you don't have to feel like you missed anything.
And don't listen to last week's show, because we got everything exactly right, and we did not wait till the end of the show to start spoiling. So
we gave a very hefty warning that if they didn't want it to go away for an unspecified amount of time, because we didn't know how long we were going to talk about it. So basically, last week's show, we said, we're going to talk about stuff, so just fuck off for a while if you don't want to hear it. That's what we did.
It's what passes for due diligence around here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So let's zip it around here. Mr. The Chig, how are you doing? How have you been?
Did I get a "the" added to my name? Is that where we're going with this?
Apparently you did.
Well, we're all old men here, so everyone gets a definite article.
Jesus, grammar. I'm gonna go with. I've played quite a bit of Elite, but I can't talk about any of that because the spoiler alert section isn't here yet. Real life, I bought a wood pellet smoker / grill combination thing. So I'm now definitely in the old man club because I'm now into smoking meats. My daughter is still learning how to drive. That definitely has taken many years off my life. work is still, I'm just busy as hell. I believe it or not, I'm a pretty damn good salesman. You want to come get ripped off? come visit me up at Duluth Dodge. And I'm kidding. I'm a very, I handle things very. I think there's a reason I have successes because I don't try to bamboozle people or anything. I tell it straight up. And like, if I'm looking something up on my computer, I pull chairs around so people can see what I'm looking at. So I just 100% honesty actually works in sales because people are so used to the scumbag salesman that they usually run into. Like I've said, it goes where car salesmen are scummy people, but we've got pedophiles and lawyers above us. I sold a car to a lawyer last week. It was weird, just saying. But that's been my life. I don't think I've got anything else exciting to talk about because we'll talk about, gameplay shit later. So move along.
Right on. That's back to me because I'm the host. By the way, I don't think this ever got explained, the Canander Indigo business, because when we first met, I think you popped into a Twitch stream and you had picked out a username on Twitch that was Commander, but with an N by accident. And what is it? They restrict how long you have to keep a name for a while before you're allowed to change it again.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. It wasn't that long ago. But when I started showing up on Twitch more regularly, I fat fingered the nickname, and you have to wait 30 days to change it.
It was just so good.
And you thought it was so funny. You said, "Don't you dare change it." It still says Commander. I mean, you sound it out, CNDR, and it throws people off regularly. It did. So I'm still Canander Indigo.
I love it.
Or Boobtron.
I've thought about switching to Canander myself because I'm jealous of your uniqueness, but I will stick to Commander.
I have other unique characteristics. You're welcome to share that one. That's all right. I won't take it personally.
Well, how's it going? How have you been? What you been up to?
Good. Still recovering from a busy weekend. This last Saturday was Global Big Day, a day of celebration and hard work for bird nerds around the globe. And so my wife and I went and spent the day covering about 150 miles and spotted 96 different species of birds and documented them, took photos of a bunch of them. Which was a pretty seriously nerdy way to spend the Saturday. But we had a lot of fun. It was cool.
I'm really curious when you say bird nerds, because it rhymes and stuff. I'm like, you could go birds with like a silent N at the beginning and you're just called birds. Or you could go birds spelled with an E and you're bird nerds. I don't know how to do this. You need to market this somehow.
Both just sound like we're calling ourselves birds and then we sound like we're crazy. Which we are, but not in that way. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it was cool. We saw a bunch of cool birds, some exotic stuff, something we never seen before, a red-throated loon, which has no real business being down here. They usually hang out way up in the Arctic Circle, but they hang out in the Great Lakes, apparently. They like our water. So we got to drive down to an old cleaned out lot where a steel mill used to be on the far south side of the port of Chicago, and sure enough, there it was, just like the internet told us it would be, because we bird nerds use the internet, apparently. All kinds of apps and GPS and you name it. These birds can't hide from us, damn it. In game, I've been doing a lot of non-spoilery stuff actually, so I can fill a little of the content vacuum that Chig's obsession with brand new stuff has devoured. The second in this year's season of buckyball races just ended on Sunday, I guess Sunday morning, Saturday evening, whichever it turns out to be. I finished 12th in the unlimited category out of like 18 or 19, and 21st in the regulation category out of maybe 30, something like that. Maybe not that many, 26, 27. So pretty far down in both cases, but had a great time doing it for the most part, a lot of crazy frustrations. I had won what was supposed to be my last unlimited run I had a chance for in my Dolphin because the courier I wanted to use can't successfully drop an SRV on anything other than a parking lot. So at the last minute I switched to the Dolphin so that I could actually drop things. And I had one just felt like a stellar run. I'm sure it still would have been quite far down the line, but it went so well right off the bat. I landed like Frodo dropping the One Ring, it just hit at a high rate of speed and stuck instantly. And I got the SRV out, and I did kind of a Keystone Cops drive around because I was on the wrong side of the crashed Thargoid vessel where I had to go pick up a sensor, and got my cargo hatch, ran right through it, did a perfect Dukes of Hazzard jump over the other side of the berm to get back to my ship, and landed so close to it in a proper driving game I would have done a handbrake hockey stop. Took off, didn't screw anything up really for the rest of the run, and as I took off from the last Thargoid site, my cargo hatch malfunctioned and dumped my cargo, and so I did the one remaining jump, came in. I finished it anyway just to see how my time would be, but it was just one of those moments that was so infuriating I couldn't help but laugh. I did finally get one more run the next day that was 30 seconds faster still, so it worked out well. But man, that buckyball will drive you crazy. The level of thought and research that the experienced and expert and talented commanders do is stunning. They were, after the race is over, they show off all their spreadsheets and things like that. It's a really interesting Discord, actually, to be in the midst of, because while the race is going on, people are talking about bugs and sharing little tips and things like that. And then as soon as it's over, all the real details come out and people start comparing what routes they took and how many jumps they had to make. And yeah, it's remarkable how many variables come into play when you're racing between orbiting and rotating spheres inside a simulated galaxy. From 1 minute to another, the planet, your jump might be obstructed. This one actually brought up a new kind of mechanic that hadn't been an issue before, I don't think. Because of hyperdictions, there were cases where somebody would have added a new jump to another system because they knew they'd be facing the wrong direction when they left the Thargoid site, and it's faster to jump twice than it is to fly in supercruise far enough to get around the backside of the planet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But if you are lucky enough to get hyperdicted in one of those situations, you'll get dropped 8,000 light seconds from where you originally intended to take off, and may well discover that what had been a blocked jump is now no longer obstructed. So you can just skip that extra jump you were going to make and go the rest of the way. Plus you get a 1.5 minute credit for getting hyperdicted.
Right.
So theoretically you could save yourself a minute jump you were going to do, get a 1.5 minutes back for the hyperdiction, and then get your shorter jump. So it got to the point where people were hoping to be hyperdicted and judging the success of their runs on, maybe if I'd gotten one more hyperdiction, I would have gotten out of it. It's really interesting.
Wow. And having the wherewithal to like change your route plan or, change your jump plot in that moment, right?
Yeah, that's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
See, I love stuff like that.
And one try takes like a half hour. So if you get 20 minutes into it and you screw up, you're like, okay, well, either I'm done or I'll burn the rest of this hour trying one more time.
That's what it's like, though. I mean, like, if you ever watch, do you ever see that documentary King of Kong, the guy trying to get the record on Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
Stuff like that boggles my mind because they're looking at things that you would never even imagine, and it just keeps going. And once you become obsessed with something, it becomes like these crazy, I blame Alec Turner.
I think
it's all his fault. Yeah, it's all his fault.
Yeah, I mean, even the little things that they'll mention, like somebody's talking about he's flying his Phantom in Unlimited and had to stop and scoop a little bit longer before this jump, and we're jumping between Thargoid site planets in the Pleiades, so we're not talking about big distances. It's not like you're covering thousands of light seconds or thousands of light years, but the amount of time it takes to go to a planet with a Thargoid site that's 50 light seconds out as opposed to one that's 500 light seconds out might be 30 or 40 seconds. And for me, I'm judging my distance from, the podium in minutes. These guys are going for seconds. And the number of things that you can optimize to get an extra 3 or 4 seconds out of it, just, yeah, it's a lot. But it's a lot of fun, too. I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested.
Why don't they call it the OCD Racing Club? Why is it Buckyball?
Because that's what it
is. I'll find out and report back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In great detail, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think I'll take that as a compliment. if there's anybody who's not going to give me shit for being fastidious, I think it's going to be the Chig.
Oh my God, you show up and use all these big words. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, like hell you don't. Mr. I'm everyman selling a Dodge into leaf.
Yeah, the Chig maintains a facade of being the sort of person you wouldn't ask to do stuff for you. I think that's where this is all leading down to here.
I might not know what I'm talking about. I mean, that's entirely possible. I am pretty stupid.
I've cut away a couple of layers there, but I think I got to the core of it here.
You mean he's not actually a grumpy old man?
You know what I'm hearing right now? You guys are all saying I'm full of shit, and I don't know if I appreciate the tone.
Wait, you're honest at work. That's what matters, right? Everywhere else, you're full of shit. But
no, he doesn't appreciate the tone. He does not dispute the underlying facts.
That is a fine observation.
I hate you all. All right,
Nurgle's
we
next.
hate you too.
What's up with your neck of the woods, sir?
I don't know if I can follow that. I mean, in game, I've been doing a bunch of BGS stuff.
You realize the galaxy's under attack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just checking.
Yeah, but somebody's still got to keep the lights on back home, right?
And we have a Chig, so I'll sweat it when the thargoids start actually coming towards our space. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, I've been doing some BGS stuff because again, somebody has to keep the lights on back home, and out of game. Yeah, I'm in silly season at work, and I've been doing. I spent Mother's Day in the yard with a chainsaw cutting down some old trees and getting stuff out of fences. So I'm not quite sure yet how my wife convinced me to do that.
Mother's Day.
Because I thought it was a bad idea, but there I was out there. So, all I can say is that 31 years of marriage, I've learned how to say, yes, dear.
And pull out a chainsaw.
I don't think that took you 31 years to learn.
No, it didn't. I mean, the reason we've got to 31 years is because I figured out how to say, yes, dear. It was out there. So I've now got, that's the worst part about cutting all that stuff down, because the big trash pickup doesn't happen till Thursday in my neighborhood. So now it's all sitting in the backyard in a pile, and then later this week I get to move it all to the front yard so they can pick it up. Because why not move it twice? I mean...
Yeah, but if you left it on your front lawn for more than a day or so, it would damage your grass, and we know how that's important to people of your vintage.
Actually...
He chose a really endearing word.
He did. He backhanded in a get off my lawn joke. But honestly, if it were me, all the grass would be gone and it would be like rocks and gravel.
Oh my God, me too.
My dream.
Oh my God. I talk about this almost every weekend.
Either that or, honest to God, robot lawnmowers need to become really inexpensive and very effective, because I am so over that shit.
I just don't think the BPH is there yet to justify them, but soon.
I mean, I've seen some of the professional mowers, and the BPH is just not there yet on the robotic ones. So,
yeah. But I don't know, a commercial mower at home, the BPH is probably there for a home, type usage, but the cost isn't there.
Yeah.
Just get it smaller, yeah. Dry that up. I used to live in Tucson, and back in the 70s when there was a water crisis and energy crisis, they adapted by getting rid of a lot of lawns. It was like a cultural thing across the whole city. 2 hours away, Phoenix just attached a bigger straw to the Colorado River. So
right.
it's kind of all lawns versus no lawns. So anybody who wants to argue in favor of dispatching their lush, luxurious, never used except to be mowed lawn, I'll back you up there.
Yeah, I'm so over that. I'm done with it. And yeah. But yeah, that's about all that's going on. Not much for me. Nice and calm, the way I like it.
Right on.
Yeah. Well, okay. So on my end, let's see. I've been 2 weeks away because of how I do it. Yep. I had a 40th birthday. We went. So wife turned it into kind of a weekend thing. my kid, who is 7, finally decided she would watch Star Wars with me for the very first time. So we watched Star Wars, and it was like a surprise, right? Because I'd been sort of asking her, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm sort of scared," and she was kind of being like that about it. And I was like, "Well, all right, you let me know. I mean, it's an important thing to me, but it doesn't have to be to you. But I do want you to, it would be nice if you wanted to," kind of thing is how we left it. And then she was like, "Daddy, we're going to do this." And they made it sort of the surprise, right? It's like, go, come into the room. And she'd made like popcorn and set this all up and everything. And my wife like pushes go on the TV. And I was like, oops, hold on. And I paused it. And I'm like, is this Disney Plus on the TV right now? Yes, it is. Oh, okay. No, quick adjustment. I'm just going to go cut this over to the stored files that I have, because we're not watching any of that special edition shit over here. So
okay, so the single tear down your eye took you fixing the whole situation first.
Yes, I mean, everything was fine. I just switched over to the despecialized edition video file that I have, and we just moved on from there, and everything was fine.
That is so awesome. I cannot express it in words.
You're the guy who saw the people getting ready for your surprise party on the Ring doorbell and knew the whole time, but still managed to be surprised.
I was plenty surprised and very happy about it and everything. But then, the intro is a little different, right? I see the Lucasfilm thing on, and I'm like, oh shit, this is Disney Plus, But I mean, obviously it was. My wife wasn't going to figure out how to put that other video on. She doesn't know where to find that. Then you saw it was
episode 8, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
No. She's not going to watch any of that shit with me if she ever watches it. But anyway, so we did that on my actual birthday, which was the 4th.
What year?
My birthday, 1983.
Wait.
But anyway, this was 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. So that was in the theater local here. So we went out to a nice dinner, and wife took me out to see Return of the Jedi. Of course, they did show the special edition Return of the Jedi, but whatever. It was cool to see in the theater. That movie came out the same month as me, so that was kind of cool.
Weird.
You marched up into the recording booth, handed him a disc.
No, it was nice to see in the theater and stuff. It was fun. And actually, Jedi is there's almost nothing wrong with the special edition. They changed the song at the end, but that's almost the only thing that's wrong with it.
They got rid of Wub Nub.
Yeah, they got rid of the song, which that bugs me. But compared to some of the other changes,
and then Hayden Christensen's in there too.
Yeah, whatever. At this point, I've got no problem with Hayden Christensen. Compared to Empire Strikes Back, where they put this whole new set of dialogue with Ian McDermott in, where he totally just spoils the whole Darth Vader being Luke's father thing, way before you're supposed to know about it, is just so brain dead. I can't abide that at all. So anyway, but this one is not all that changed and stuff, and fine, whatever. So yeah, it was kind of a Star Wars heavy birthday situation, I guess, is what I ended up with. But
I'm still trying to get past Return of the Jedi came out the same month that Trax was born, and I drove to that movie.
He drove his grandkids to that movie.
Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, yeah, getting plenty of Elite in since the update came out, testing things, finding the new fun, and it is plenty of good new fun out there to be had. And actually, I cut down a tree too. Come to think of it, because yesterday we had our Mother's Day. We often do our front gardening, kind of set up the flowers for this year kind of situation, and I help her with that. And this year we have this little I think it was a lavender tree. I thought lavender was a bush. This thing has a trunk, so I don't know. But I think anyway, I don't know. I also don't care. It was something that they put in when they built the house, and they didn't treat anything properly. It's just really cheap landscaping. And at some point in the last couple of months, it just leaned right over. It was about 6 feet tall. It's not a big tree. It just leaned right over, and I was like, okay, I got to get rid of this. And I tried to move it around, thinking it must just be loose and I'll be able to just pull it up almost. And it seemed to be in there super firmly. So I was like, oh, fuck. So anyway, I got out there, they're doing flowers, and I just get to digging, and I dug out around it a bit, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. And I found this like wire bale in there that apparently the guys had left the wire basket in when they planted. I'm like, oh my God, you fucking morons. And so I'm like starting to carve around that, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? And I'm like, this stupid thing. And I was like, see how firmly it's in here? And I pushed it, and I guess I dug enough, and it only had like one good root left or something, and it just leaned right over the other way. And I put a shovel under there for a little bit of leverage and pushed it, and crack, the thing came right out. And I was like, oh, great. Wow. So it ended up being a lot less work than I thought, and I just carried off a tree, and then actually that wire basket came right out too. It was actually not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
So you're talking about that, and I'm thinking about how sore I am right now because I told you I got that new smoker, and it was me and my daughter because it's Mother's Day. I cheat every year for my mom and wife. I just do a whole steak, New York strips, corn, shrimp, the whole kit and caboodle. But my grill died last year, so I was going to sous vide and then just fry the steaks. But it's like, let's go buy a new grill. So me and my daughter go to buy a new grill while my wife and mom are at my house. And we go and do this, and we're up at Fleet Farm and looking at all these grills. And my daughter is insisting on this just monstrosity, right? This huge thing. And I'm like, I don't need that. Let's just go with this one over here. Dad, the other guys will make fun of you because your grill is not adequate if you don't do this. So I'm like, God,
she knows her audience.
So I'm like, well, let's go see how much this, because I overdo everything. I said, well, let's go see how much this thing weighs, because it's going to be me and you trying to get this up on the deck. Let's see how much this weighs. And go over to the kiosk. I don't know if you've been to Fleet Farm. You got to punch in a number in a kiosk because you pick it up and back. And I'm like, kid, this thing is 210 pounds. This is a lot of weight. Oh, we can do it. I think you're out of your fucking mind. And I'm looking at it, and then she hit the button for print the slip. I'm like, all right, here we go. So then we go back, we pick this thing up, and we bring it home, and getting it, I'm like, hopefully we can just take it up. There's some assembly, so I'm hoping it's just going to be like a whole bunch of pieces. I hope there's a shitload of assembly. No, like the main body of it, like 150 pounds of the entire weight is just one giant fucking thing.
It's just steel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty much. Well, you got the hopper that feeds the pellets, and then you got the whole big, smoking box section. And I'm like, oh God, we got it. We got it figured out. I was trying to keep her out of the way for most of it, but when we got to like the stairs up the deck, I'm like, kid, you're gonna have to get behind this and push. I had a ratchet strap to a dolly and everything, and I'm like, I cannot pull this up by myself. You're gonna have to help, because I don't have like a big wheel dolly, so the wheels are kind of hooking underneath. It was a whole adventure, and we got it assembled, and I grilled those goddamn steaks. But my entire Mother's Day was hauling a giant fucking grill, assembling a giant grill. And the biggest pain in the ass of the entire process was on the inside of the big lid that flips up. They had this fucking big sticker, basically marketing shit. I already bought it. Why is this giant marketing sticker? Who are you trying to sell it to? That took me a fucking hour to get off of it, because I figured if that's on the inside of the grill, and I'm smoking with
cook
heat,
on there.
It's gonna cook on there. It's probably gonna put melted plastic and glue flavor into my meat. So yeah, I spent like an hour doing that. So that was my Mother's Day, and I am quite sore today. So hate to jump in there on your guys' tree removal, but buying a big grill is a pain too.
So one, it occurs to me that me and Trax both cut down trees that Chig could have used.
Yes.
And two, after that incredible story of father-daughter bonding and triumph, you never mentioned how the steaks turned out.
They were amazing. They were, dude, I know how to cook steaks. I actually sous vide them before I put them on the grill.
Yeah, it kind of makes it
129 degrees right in the center. Then I fired that grill up to 600 and some degrees just to throw them on there and just sear the shit out of them. Oh my God. They were fucking amazing.
Yep.
I bet they were.
Oh yeah. That we had leftovers tonight because I bought some way bigger steaks than I needed to. So it was steak dinner 2 nights in a row. And the beauty about sous vide, normally when you grill, you need to rest them for a period so the juices don't come out. And then the next day they never warm up. When I like just threw the steak in the microwave to grill, and then I'm cutting into it. Blood and juice is just oozing all over the plate. Sous vide is amazing. I just want to say that.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Best.
Yeah,
that's what all the good steakhouses are using in the back.
Yeah, the Chipotle trick too. All those chicken breasts they pull out and throw on the grill have all been sous vide in the back.
Yep, they're all cooked. They just need to sear them. It's so freaking awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm all doing that shit now. And I've never owned a smoker, so this is going to be a whole new adventure. And I'm already. You guys might not have noticed this about me. I get obsessed with things a little bit.
No,
I'm diving into smoking.
I don't believe it.
I think you're breaking up a little bit there, Chig. I couldn't quite hear what you said.
All right.
Well, that was a solid 30 minutes of dad stuff.
It was. Well, this is the old man podcast. So.
The content floweth.
I thought it was old ladies. Isn't it Golden Girls?
That was a couple of episodes.
One day a year. One day a year.
Been there. All right. Let's talk about it. Looks to me like the squad update's going to be short and sweet. Let's hit that right as soon as I find the button, which is with the S's, and we go.
Incoming priority message. Squadron briefing.
We are going to make this short and sweet. So we've got an election going on in MCC 858. We have wars going on in Gram and Xians, Xians. We are pushing loose screws influence in HIP 4907 and in Calarum. We may have a budding issue with Project Elite, the minor faction that keeps becoming an issue in Calarum to deal with. We are still trying to push AfterDark to expand from Tamor, and that is to fill an open slot in one of our other systems. We've got a couple of open slots that we're going to work on filling here over the next couple of weeks to try to prevent, some unwanted other factions from taking a slot in one of our systems. We would rather kind of control our neighborhood. The details for all of that are in Blooming Wind's excellent standing orders post in the Loose Screws faction channels of the Discord. So if you want more details, that is there. And if you need to ask questions, want to know what's going on, there's also a Loose Screws faction channel in there where we can chat about it. And that's what's going on.
I feel like your sign off is going to be you're like a TV meteorologist. It's going to be like, and that's what's happening in our neck of the woods.
And that's what's happening in our neighborhoods. My time is done here. We thank you for yours.
Stay tuned for Bard with the traffic or something, right? All right. Anyway, next up is Bard with the railway traffic. Oh man, this is just happening right now, you guys. All right, here we go.
It finally happened. Some big and important shit finally hit the fan. Let's get started.
Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm! Wait! Everybody calm down!
May 10th, Thargoid Pulse Neutralizer becomes available. The technology that will let us go into the maelstroms is finally ready.
And here we go.
Also, on the 10th, Galnet published another story titled Into the Maelstroms. Self-explanatory, and so we went.
Yeah, this is it!
And on May 12th, ground troops encounter Thargoid drones. The Thargoids now appear at planetary settlements. Good luck, Commander.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit.
Yes. That's all for the news last week. Have fun out there.
Woo!
Yes. I've been trying to get in the mails. I'm going into the Maelstrom system for my second time. I'm getting hyperdicted again.
See, I don't do stuff like that during the podcast anymore. Every time I try to do more than just drift around aimlessly, I get too distracted to actually record anything good.
I was anticipating an extended Bard segment I could listen to while I tried to do this.
All right. Well, we've also got an exploration report from Commander Grover Kiwi. So, and here we go.
We are the cosmos made conscious. Professor Brian Cox. And this is the exploration report. Deciding what to fly to and do a deep scan of is what we're looking at today. And if you have scanned each body with the FSS scanner, your system map is your best in-game tool to help you choose what to spend your time doing a deep scan of. A lot of this depends on what kind of explorer you are. If you're going to scan every planet in a system regardless, then go for it. The system map can tell you at least what bodies you have already scanned, and if others have scanned them first. If you're on a road to riches, here's the most valuable planets to scan. Earth-like worlds are the holy grail, not as much for their scan value, although it is high, but for the prestige of finding and scanning an Earth-like world, even more so if you're the first person to discover it. An undiscovered Earth-like world can net you around 4 million in credits. Water worlds and ammonia worlds are also very high in value, and therefore a must scan. But you should pay attention to water worlds and high metal content worlds. If you select them in your system map, look at the info for each one. If there's a line in the information saying it's terraformable, it can be one of the most valuable bodies to scan. You'll often find terraformable worlds next to each other, existing in a Goldilocks zone of a system that has the conditions to support life. Non-terraformable high metal content worlds can net you anywhere from 100 to 400,000 in credits. Metal-rich bodies are usually closest to the star and can reach as high as 500,000 credits, so they are well worth scanning. The final possible high-value body in the system is a Class 2 gas giant, sometimes worth up to 400,000 credits. That being said, there is value in scanning other planets. For instance, if a planet has biosignals, or both bio and geological signals. If there's an ammonia gas giant in the system, scanning everything may reveal surface sites with alien signals. It's really up to you how you feel at the time, and often whether you're in a hurry to get somewhere else. One final note though, if you are scanning a body with rings, make sure you also scan the rings. Although you don't gain credits for it, that info can be used by third-party tools, such as Bench, to inform other commanders whether it could be a good place to mine tritium. This has been your exploration report, coming to you live from the future. Yes, I changed my intro a little. There's only so many space jokes, and I think I peaked at the Texas one.
I think that when I heard the Texas one, I went and made it the tagline or description line on the podcast feed too.
I don't think he's peaked yet.
We're a fan.
I think he ended a sentence with a preposition at some point too, which is a no-no.
There is something up with which we shall not put.
All right. Thanks, you two, for those great segments. And do you want to, do we want to do do you want to do like the cheeses and the movies and stuff now?
No, that's if the show goes long, we can cut that shit. That's for filler at the end, man.
Without that, we don't have a bookend. We just trail off into inanity.
Trail off into.
All right. So here's the story then. Update 15, you nerds. So let's see what's how best to tackle this. So here's a few bullet points. And then I've got a link to the release notes if we want to pick out. We don't have to just read release note pages, but like there's a lot of fixes and stuff in here. A couple of things we weren't expecting. There's a couple of things that didn't even make the notes that are also exciting that were changed. Okay. So high, content points that came in, new Thargoid craft. The center of the Maelstrom also contains new Thargoid craft. And there's a new system marker for Counter-Strike systems which are Thargoid controlled that we can now push back on. So it's like the three major points that changed about the Thargoid War. And then there's a bunch of little fixes and UI changes and bits of nonsense. I'm struggling with an organizational approach. Maybe we should just tuck in and see where the discussion takes us. What do you think?
Sure.
If I get tucked in, I go to sleep, so we might have issues.
Now, tuck in like you'd tuck into a nice juicy steak. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. Napkin. There we go. Juice is spilling. I like it.
Right. Okay, so first thing for me, there's a sort of a marked change to how the notes were presented. We have, features of note. We have these little bold bullet points like this is important, and we've got issue tracker IDs on a lot of the fixes.
So good.
Linking right to it. Really well done. Yeah, well done notes.
Yes, golf clap for sure. I was
definitely
impressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great job, Sally.
A marked improvement over past communication.
Yeah, first rate.
Yes.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm going to start at the top. Feel free to interrupt me. Features of okay, what?
No, that was good.
Okay, never mind. So features of note, like I said,
we talk about wait, never mind. Go ahead.
A new mission to restore power to settlements and retrieve data from within the Thargoid-controlled territory has been added. So this is sort of the on-foot attachment to the Thargoid War. I suppose there was always these missions to... It's at the top of the note sheet. I don't know, unless you give me something else to go on.
I'm just like, this is something that we can discuss quite a bit, because we actually went and did some of this stuff, extensively.
We did. Okay, well, I mean, give me the feedback. Like I asked you, how do you want to organize it?
Wing it.
Okay, I'll start at the fucking bottom. Frameshift Live will return this Thursday, and they're going to have Curtis from the developer team back again. More news on that.
Is he the guy who was there a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the most recent one. He's going to be back because they spent a lot of the time going, and there's going to be so much more I can tell you soon, kind of thing. So now is soon, or Thursday will be. Also, development news: there are new ship kits that come with paints that came out. They are Thargoid stuff, and they've got chunks of Thargoid body parts all over the ship, and paint colors to go with it. For let's see, Cutter,
pretty cool.
Cutter, Mark II, Chieftain. And what was the other one?
We're full-on reavering?
No. Maybe there's just 3.
Viper?
We are full-on reavering. That's what we're
Cobra.
doing.
It's Cobra 3, yeah. So yeah, they have Thargoid body parts, and apparently they have illuminated parts, and the illuminated parts get more excited when your hard points are deployed and things that. Way. It sounds fucking great.
And they look totally different from anything that's been in the game before. It's like turn your ship into a lionfish or something. It's crazy. Right,
exactly. And I mean, this is up there with the hazard kits that came out with the working lights and all this stuff. They're really kicking things up a notch. Wish they were there for Challenger. Challenger, current favorite AX ship, but we got a Chieftain model in there. So
when did Challenger become your favorite ship? It's like a new development.
It's not that. I mean, once I realized that you can build it with lightweight armor and it's almost as fast as a Chieftain, and you can run 4 size 2 guns.
There is
4 size 2 guns. When you're out there staring down the Hydra, 4 size 2 guns, my friend.
Yeah, but what about a Mark II? You can do the same thing.
Mark II is not nimble enough. It's an obligate boost orbiter.
But what's wrong with boost orbiting? It's a skill.
It's fine, I guess. It's fine. I don't know.
The boost sound isn't great for a ship with obligate boost orbiting.
The Mark II boost
that's a bad combination.
give me
the one ship that you have to boost all the time, and it sounds pretty bad.
Give me the Phantom boost in the Mark II, and I'd be a happy.
Yeah. Anyway, so those are in the store. Go check them out. Let's see. Somebody noticed there's been new ads in starports for Azimuth, and also ads for the federal election candidates, things like that being put into the game. I don't know.
That's cool. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Nice touch.
Just a thing.
I'm seeing there's something not in your notes here that I know Boob was super excited about, though. Should let him interject that.
Oh, geez. Yeah, not just that. This is, okay.
You have a whole list?
I have a whole story about this thing. So I stopped using relative mouse assist, basically, because it wrecks flying in Super Cruise, and I've been doing the buckyball thing and just been learning to fly fast in Super Cruise.
Do you want to explain that, what that is for people that don't necessarily know?
So if you have it turned on, no, back up. If you have it turned off, just the regular functionality, you push the mouse up and the ship will continue to go up until you put the mouse back down. Perfectly natural. Really hard to manage when you're flying with FA off, though, because with FA off, the mouse is impulse. So you're pushing up constantly instead of just moving up a little bit, and you have to counter it by moving back down in order to stop going up. So if you want to tip up or something, you have to go up and then back down.
You have to like remember your mouse's exact starting position.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to get back to that starting position or you'll never zero out your thrust.
Yeah, to me it feels like I'm drunk and standing in a canoe. It's that difficult. I've tried 4 or 5 times to just make it work. If I use the center mouse reset on the mouse wheel, I can kind of make it work, but I have to tap it every single time I make a course correction. It's crazy. By contrast, if you have it turned on, when you move the mouse, it's like it tips the ship up, and if you stop moving, it stops that impulse. So it still starts you going up, but it doesn't keep you going up faster and faster and faster as if you're accelerating in any other direction.
So it makes the mouse behave closer to the way a joystick behaves when it's in FA off. You return to center with the joystick and you stop the thrust, and then you go the other way to counter the thrust. Now the mouse at least does that.
Right, a mouse gesture is like flicking the joystick instead of holding the joystick straight up.
Right.
The problem is if you're flying in Super Cruise, it does the same thing, which means it always recenters right away. So if you're trying to make a long turn or keep pulling up in Super Cruise, you just have to keep repositioning the mouse. So you push, 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 push to keep going in whatever direction you want to go, which is ridiculous. It's terrible. If you're only going from point A to point B in a straight line, it's fine. And for years, I did it with no real problems. But if you have joysticks, you know that's not how you fly in space. I mean, maybe it is. Lots of people do. But if you're trying to go quickly and trying to keep the ETA, down to like 4 for the entirety of your trip to wherever you're going, all the way closing in until the last minute when you can kind of spiral your way in. If you don't get to 20 times the speed of light between point A and point B, you're probably going the wrong direction, or at least going there the wrong way. Anyway, to be able to fly like that, I had to turn it off. And for years, people have said, hey, it would be great if there were a toggle to do that. I went to look. I was going to put in a support ticket just to keep it going and found one from 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something crazy like that. Even got to the point I went and talked to Bernardo on his stream and asked him a couple of questions because I know he's a keyboard mouse guy. And he didn't, he talked about the mouse center thing and about maybe putting it on a turbo button toggle so that it's just always recentering if you have that turned on. I did that, set it up in auto hotkey. It kind of worked, but it wasn't great. And then update 15 dropped. And a couple days later, I noticed that he had tweeted a screenshot of the mouse flight settings section with a button for disable relative mouse. You could set it for toggle or hold, and it was just sitting right there. And I saw he had even popped into the Newton's Gambit Discord to let them know about the discovery, because it's a big deal for a lot of the keyboard mouse folks there too. And while he was there, he went to Matt for the FDL as the best ship-to-ship combat ship, just so you guys are, I know that's right down your alley. But anyway,
making shit up.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Position.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I even went on Twitter and had seen a post from this guy Luke, who's a lead developer on Odyssey, and put a comment on him asking him to extend my personal gratitude to whoever was behind that particular fix. And sure enough, a day later, I got a tweet back from this guy Dominic, who works at Fdev, who said, "You're welcome," which is really cool. So nobody thought that was going to get fixed. It was, I think when I asked a couple of different sets of people about it, they all said, yeah, we've asked about it for years. It's never going to happen. And then they just snuck it in, and it wasn't in the release notes. They didn't tell anybody, and it had me smiling for days. Literally every time I sat down to play, I was excited to just go from one place to another because I could both fight things and fly like a race car driver again. Just thanks to this one little 9-year-old support ticket that somebody finally tracked down and spent, a day or two fixing. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's my awesome. TED Talk. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, obviously very much game changing for keyboard and mouse players, which are numerous. And I mean, there's a ton of them especially in high level combat communities. There's a lot of it's not like a tiny fraction of the population or like bits of the elite population that are
like the 5% who don't have a joystick
are like or like not into it or something. Like people prefer this method. It's not just somebody who might not happen to have one or something like that, right?
It's still pretty rarefied. Like, if you're not using FA off, you don't really need it. Like when I'm switching back and forth now, I'll find myself with FA on. I won't bother with it because that feeling when you wonder if your ship's broken because flight assist is on. If you have the relative mouse turned on and flight assist, it feels like your ship's broken. So you kind of toggle it back. And a lot of people don't fly regularly with flight assist off, though I think they'd have more fun if they did.
Yeah, and I think that's why, why I say it has keyboard and mouse is prevalent in, like, for example, the PvP community, high-level AX combat community, because
it's people,
Sure, any of this, like, kind of specialist, high level, whatever it is, a lot of combat, and then other things that are specialized and stuff like that, because it's the flight assist off that you end up getting into when you go that deep into one of those particular specialties.
That's why I switched to it, yeah.
Yeah, and so anyway, yeah, fantastic. Wasn't in the notes, but great. Great stuff. So let's see, what can I talk about that's not, I mean, there's a couple of VR fixes in here that I never thought I would friggin' see. There was like a brightness issue on a couple of screens, like the codec screen and stuff, like everything would be super bright in the surrounding area around the screen if you're in VR. And then the shipyard, since the friggin' alpha, the ships that are supposed to appear in front of you would appear sort of around you / behind you, depending on the size of the ship. And that I just thought that would just never get any attention. But here it is, like in the patch notes, all fixed up nice. So there's a bunch of, there's categories for rendering, audio, art, server-side fixes, UI changes, and she's got a bunch of bullets here for notable changes. The map's got a lot of changes. Let's talk about that. In fact, I'll just, in case anybody's watching on video, I need to get out of free cam here. Okay, so system maps. Now, whenever there's a lot of fleet carriers around a particular body, you'll get a stacked icon instead of them being all spread out. So the system map no longer looks absolutely banana pants insane. So like here we have 4 fleet carriers, and if you want to see what's in them, you got to go over to the points of interest, and then there's a new, I'm showing it here on the video, there's a category now under POIs for points of interest, and it shows fleet carrier services right here. Here's the services that are enabled, and if you're not allowed to dock, you won't see you'll see the service grayed out. So that's helpful. Your own fleet carrier ends up getting highlighted. Here's something I've noticed. Let's see if this works for fleet carriers. Yeah. So here's a bug that I just discovered tonight. In the POIs screen in the system map, which I used to use to route to various things. Oh, that's interesting. So what appears to be happening is when I click and hold to plot a route, it doesn't actually plot a route to that from this particular part of the screen, where it used to. You used to be able to go here and pick let me pick an orbital ports. Here's Cantor Gateway, can route to it. Okay, so it works for orbital ports. I'm going to go for
POIs that aren't fleet carriers?
No, well, that's how I discovered it. So I was routing to a planetary port because I needed to buy something. So let's route to Pratchett Base. It's actually pointing me to the B star instead, and it actually doesn't plot a route. It moves the system map to the B star. So planetary ports don't work. It looks like the orbital ports do work. It does plot a route. Let's see, what is this? These are surface settlements. Let's see if I can plot to that. Nope, that takes me to the B star. And then Odyssey surface settlements. Nope, those don't work. And fleet carriers do work. Wait, that one worked. But that, oh, you know what? It probably does work, but this is a stack of 6 fleet carriers, so it probably is routing me. Okay, so fleet carriers work. It seems that it is surface settlements and ports I can no longer plot routes to from the system map POI screen. But anyway, whatever.
Yeah, you don't want to go there anyway.
If you can help it. But yeah, and let's see, what else is there? So there used to be, like, if I clicked on a station, I can see right now station services right on the main screen. That used to be tucked under, I don't know where, like planet or something. It was under the wrong tab anyway, so it got moved now, so station services can be seen on the main info panel for that station on the system map. If I cut over to Galaxy Map, I have something new here, this new icon. In Thargoid controlled systems that are Counter-Strike systems, we'll get this purple icon business, and I can't get it to show me the correct thing here. I need to go onto Thargoid War Mode. So anyway, there we go. I'm going to plot a route to this system. Show me the Thargoid panel. Oh yeah, so here we are, Thargoid counterattack. So these are systems that are under control. They have this purple icon, and that means that we will be able to start trying to take that system back, I guess, by destroying craft, support human forces in conflict zones. So this is like, remember a while ago we tried to go to a Thargoid control system to find what I expected to be higher difficulty Thargoid combat and try to find one of these conflict zones.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find them. So they're not all the Thargoid controlled systems have this. Like, I can see a bunch of green on the map right now, but only some of them have this purple icon. So those are going to be the ones where we actually have these conflict zones and can do the pushback. So now there's a marker showing that to us, because last time we checked like 6 systems and found none and gave up. So I guess we'll never know if they were actually there back then or not. But anyway, that's actually the only thing I haven't tried so far from the update is conflict zones in Thargoid controlled space. To see what that's like.
We could probably send our logs to Rabbi Bob, and he could research it, because that guy is freaking insane. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got some backroom stuff going on right now. More on that when he gets Audaxis's log. Let's see, anything else in UI that you guys think is worth mentioning? There's a bunch of stuff here in the notes. I mean, those are the things that stood out to me as being a big deal. There's a few known issues here on this list as well, but again, without reading through the whole thing. That seems fine. Maybe we'll think of some others as we go, but there's a lot of fixes and little changes. Some of them as simple as audio rebalancing, and some of them a bunch more kind of more important ones. And
we did mention a couple of weeks ago in the bug report that the Thargoid links that were essential for the buckyball race that they had to kind of engineer around, and said you can pick up the resin if they don't drop. Now they dropped. Yay. Period. You shoot them, they fall down.
Hey.
just in time for the end of the race. But yeah, the last several days of racing, the general consensus seemed to be that they were no longer hanging up and getting blown up from people trying to shoot them down. So yay.
You get the feeling that they might have somebody who's like spaghetti
listening
code searching for stuff now. Maybe, I don't know, because it's so many little things that this patch fixed in the past.
It would not be the worst idea to have an IT project manager paying attention to the content creators and saying, hey, somebody was talking about this bug. Can we see if we can fix that?
Yeah.
That would not be the worst idea.
That would instill a little bit of faith back in me for their company, because I honestly felt like for a while they were very disconnected. They seem to be coming back to the pack a little bit here and really paying attention to little things that, I don't know, that are huge improvements, like your mouse thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is hopefully a simple. I mean, I don't know how simple it was to implement, but like, you know, it is one of those things that's sort of like, this is a little bit brain dead that you didn't have this in there to begin with, right? I don't mean to step all over the celebration of it being finally put in, but it seems a little obvious when you describe it, right? Like, but I mean, this should have been a toggle.
People, you know, we input like macros into the game in order to do little things, right?
Well, I don't personally, but
they are actually like programmers who do this stuff. So if there's an actual problem, they should have a way to be able to input that in, especially with the number of keybinds we have in this game. Just to put in a toggle for something doesn't seem like it should be. Once again, disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor. No. I'm not a game programmer or game designer. I don't know how any of this stuff works. But
he did say the Holiday Inn Express last night.
Okay.
Maybe we. Hey, I will buy ARCs to send them all to Holiday Inn Expresses if they can fix more things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a tough gig managing those kind of dev priorities, you know, at a small team in a fairly small company with all the things that we'd all like to have fixed, and seeing those little bits of, you know, almost Easter egg scale things that have really made a difference to me and to a bunch of other people. It speaks to you know, maybe a little bit of different kind of perspective, or maybe they're just a little caught up because they've fixed more of the glaring things, or maybe they've had some of this Odyssey Thargoid stuff, you know, built up over the last year or two, or, you know, now that that's finally been put into the game, they're like, okay, we got this done 2 months ago, so maybe we can do a couple more things that are low-hanging fruit in the meantime. And
yeah, well, to me, where my salt had come in with this company is it seemed that they were tone deaf to a lot of what's going on. And you had mentioned maybe they should have somebody listening to content creators and fixing things they bring up, because content creators are the most vocal, you know, minority in the game. You know, they're playing the game more. They're seeing these things, but their voice is going out to a lot of other players compared to Joe Schmo basement dweller who wants something fixed, who doesn't talk to anybody. You know, I can understand how things like that could be missed, but things that are publicly being talked about by hundreds, if not thousands of players in the game are things they should have a priority to fix. And by moving forward and actually now seeing a lot of these little things getting fixed, you know, I don't know if that's a shift in management doing that, if they've got some new people in positions that are like, you know, let's prioritize these things. You know, it's not pandering. It's just fixing things that are obvious and get you good press by fixing things that may not have been all that hard to fix. It just wasn't a big priority. And I see a lot of little things being fixed, and I'm encouraged by the direction things are going.
You know, and how many times over, you know, hundreds of episodes have we said we would be happy to see an update that was nothing but quality of life and bug fixes, just to try to clear some of that backlog.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, things like a relative mouse toggle, or what Trax was talking about with, you know, positioning where the ship appears in 3D when in the ship purchasing screen. These are small things, but they make a real difference when they've been to the people who have been bitching about them being bugged for a long time. And to see them, you know, knocking off a handful of these, hopefully low-hanging fruits, you know, every time an update comes out is really, it gives me a good feeling about where we're headed with this, because it shows that they are actually paying attention and they're doing those small things that matter to people, and change how we feel about playing the game. And it's not necessarily some giant lump of new gameplay or something. It's just fixing their shit, for lack of a better term.
You look too at the demographic of this game. There's a lot. I mean, Trax just turned 40, and he's a young feller in this room. You know, we're the type of people that if a restaurant forgets to put extra ketchup in the bag one time, we never go back. Don't call to complain. We just move on with our lives. You know.
I did that in Lowe's today.
They didn't put ketchup in your Lowe's bag?
That's weird.
No, I walked in looking for something very specific, and 15 minutes later, with the help of a Lowe's associate, they could not find where it was. Like, you know what? I'm just going to go down the street. I'll pay more, but it'll take me 3 minutes to get what I need.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And that's what I did.
Yeah, you know, a way to think about it is there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some important fixes in here, and there's a lot of little stuff that what we're focusing on right now is like fit and finish stuff. It's not things that broke the game, but it was stuff that was embarrassing to leave broken. You know, when I stream, and I don't know, I'm not the only VR player out there, and every time I look at the shipyard, I see either nothing because the ship is small and behind me, or I see like the right landing gear of my chieftain because that's the only part of it that's in front of me, and the rest of it is like clipping through my head, right?
Right.
That's, you know, that pops up every time I do a shipyard adjustment. And, you know, what do we got here? So ship kits no longer result in caustic damage being multiplied. Yes. Carrier jumps can no longer accidentally scheduled by dragging the map around with the mouse. Distance now correctly displays when jumping your carrier.
Wow.
Landed apex will no longer randomly decide to disembark. Improvements made to Midnight Black paint job. Scarab SRV radar schematic sizing is fixed. Scarab SRV no longer missing projectiles. Scarab SRV interaction with Guardian Relic pillars now functions as intended. On and on and on and on and on. The list is 3 times that long, and that's just one section. There's a bunch of little things. The HUD message was appearing in the wrong spot. This message wasn't appearing at all. Teammate navlock.
Teammate navlock.
Tons of people. Tons of people.
I had
run
to self-destruct because of that bug 2 weeks ago. True.
So
Blooming
so
was
there we
going to
go.
come give me some fuel. We couldn't make it work between the two of us, and we're both fairly clever. And
right, so that was something specifically cited by fuel rats.
The whole fuel rats thing, all the fuel rats have suffered from that bug for ages. And
yeah.
And
okay. Oh no, go ahead.
Hold on. Credit where credit is due, because I sat here 2 weeks ago and harped with a lot of salt on poo-pooing all the possible downsides of what they were going to screw up with that update 15. So, full disclosure,
there are a couple of screw-ups, but they're not that big a deal so far. It seems like
I think they did a pretty good job managing the hype. They released some stuff to content creators, let them dump that the Friday before, but they didn't release everything. It was enough of a teaser so you knew what was coming without actually knowing how the sausage was made. They rolled this out fairly smooth. It does not appear that they introduced any significant bugs. There's a couple of minor ones that I don't think are a big deal. They introduced a change in gameplay, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is fairly exciting. I think they nailed it. I mean, they did a really good job with this update, and they deserve to get credit for doing it right.
All right. On that note, let's get to content. Back up to the top. Okay.
Sorry.
So, first things first.
Now there's all the interface stuff out of the way.
There's a new mission to restore power to settlements that have been taken over by thargoids. Now, what's fun is this isn't a new mission, right? I mean, these missions actually existed already. They were just they were in systems that had been cleared, right?
It's
so
the tutorial at the beginning of Odyssey. The first time you open Odyssey. It's a settlement
but I mean specifically
mission.
to do with the Thargoid War. I mean these Thargoid War missions actually already existed, but they were for systems that had previously been in alert or invasion.
Right.
So so now systems that are actively in Thargoid control, you can get missions from nearby alerts and invasions.
Did we give the spoiler warning? I don't remember.
Oh, no. Sorry. This is the moment. Spoiler warning.
All right.
What am I going to do?
We need a sound for that.
I don't have. Oh my God, I gave the spoiler alert song to Glaive Radio, and I didn't even make one for us.
You didn't keep it for yourself.
All right, we're going to do this.
Damn these electric sex pants.
So the electric sex pants sound is the spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
If you want to know nothing and just discover things on your own, it's only been 6 days since the thing is out, so I won't disrespect you. We won't be spoiling alert next week's episode.
You can just go fuck off and come back next week.
All right, so no more content that isn't a spoiler. Okay, anyway, if you're still here, yeah, so these missions, now they've been expanded. They can happen in these counter-strike systems that have the purple icon on them. So you have to pick them up in alerts or invasion systems at those stations. If when there are stations that are active, you can pick them up from there, and they will send you to something. I will say right now, be careful which one you pick up, because some of these stations, some of these settlements might be many hundreds of thousands of light seconds from the star. But we tried these out, didn't we?
We did.
On Thursday, we got a team of 4. We all piled into a Crusader.
Audaxius and Rabibob.
So they're cool. There are, if you haven't heard yet, these stations end up, I should say settlements, because they're surface settlements. When you get there, they are all offline. Bits of them are on fire, and there are new Thargoid craft called Revenant patrolling the area, which basically are like skimmers with laser guns and grenades.
Scavengers, yeah.
Sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads.
Yeah, and they peer around with a yellow searchlight, so you can sort of perceive their field of view, and you can try to avoid them, or you can just directly engage them.
Which we did both.
We did both. Yep, we did a stealthy one, and then we actually did take out a 1 or 2 on the way out, and then the next time we were just like, fuck it, and we just went in guns blazing, and we managed to succeed in both cases. One of the current bugs right now is actually that these missions are sometimes not progressing, and the first one we did suffered from this, right? So you power up the settlement, and the next thing that's supposed to happen is it's going to ask you to go to a different room and retrieve some data, and that part of the mission never happened, so it never completed. But when you're there, I mean, you gotta be careful. So Audaxius was kind of driving the ship then, and
we all piled onto his ship. And he flew us in, and he had 2 SRVs just to set the stage.
Yeah, so we dropped a pretty good distance from the station because we're trying to not get noticed, and then drove the SRVs in until we felt like we needed to ditch those.
On the first one, it was in complete darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I'm just going to add details as you talk.
So we found our way in. You sort of keep track of where they are, try to avoid them, and cut your way in. So you need to have at least one person needs to have a Maverick suit, because you'll need to cut the panel, and then you get in, spend your time powering it up. I do think that they appeared to get a little agitated when the station started powering up. So I think on your way out, you're kind of they know you're there. They're on the hunt even more so.
And that's when they found our SRVs. Right, SPVs,
yeah, there was the scorpions that were there. They found them, so we came back out of the building, and both the scorpions are just getting absolutely hammered. So we're like, well, I guess let's not go that way. So we had to walk far enough to where we thought we could get the ships out, and then of course an interceptor had spawned in by then and was patrolling overhead. So you got to get picked up quickly and jump out of there.
Which, when you're running around on the ground and there's a freaking interceptor flying overhead, that is terrifying. So what did I do? I shot it with my rocket launcher.
Yeah, we survived.
We survived. We got out of there.
Yeah, the interceptors really don't pay attention to you on foot.
Yeah. But you have to worry about the Revenant. You'd have seeing another character or player NPC from even 500 meters up,
Right.
That means to them.
Yeah, and I mean, so the Revenant, I don't have. This has got me sort of thinking about possibly thinking about engineering my on-foot gear, because I haven't bothered absolutely at all. But I do have a grade 2s and 3s of things, and I shot down some Revenant with my plasma sniper. 3 or 4 rounds on a grade 3 there will do the trick. And I know you guys have higher grade stuff, so you had an easier time of it. But yeah, they go down. The Scorpion's missile launcher, that's a one hit for the Revenant. And but they'll be replaced. You can't just clear them out. They'll be replaced apparently on Thargoid scouts appear and drop them as drop ships.
Me, cool. As much as anybody said, I had no interest in the ground Thargoid stuff. I just want to fly my spaceship. But we had a shit ton of fun the other night. I mean, we
had a ton of fun shouting.
That was
good radio too.
And, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go watch Trax's video of that, it was fun. I mean, even like when the game bugged out, we ended up leaving somebody on the surface and coming back and trying to rescue them. It was stupid fun.
It was good fun. I have a new plan, by the way, the next time, and that's actually why I'm sitting in my chieftain right now. But I think we can do these missions in 2-man teams really quickly. And the trick is the remote release flak launcher.
I can't wait to see that. You mentioned that today, and I'm so excited about that prospect.
So, spoiler alert again. You can shoot the Revenant down with the flak launcher, and so I intend
that's a lot of little explosions.
Right.
Like cluster bombing Revenants.
Maybe you could do these in solo, but I mean the true like scorched earth way to do this would be I can fit one passenger in my chieftain. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to clear the site with the flak launcher. I'm going to quickly drop my troop singular. They're going to go in and power up, and I'm going to stay in the air, and I'm going to take out those scouts with utter impunity because I am me, and bro Thargoid come at me.
But this is what I'm thinking. You guys
I'm not playing around and 2 people in medium-sized combat ships.
Yeah, we could double up with this, but like I'm saying, like I'm not rolling in there with some ship that doesn't have Guardian modules because I'm not in a Maelstrom system. Right. I'm bringing the big guns. Good luck, Thargoids. And so anyway, I'm going to keep the skies clear. You do that thing, and then I'll pick you back up. We're going to be in and out.
I suppose it keeps going. It's not a CZ, so there aren't victory conditions, right?
Oh, you can just stay.
No, it's just
if there's a reason to keep killing them.
You power it up, and then you go get the data. I'm going to keep the skies clear. You know what I mean? I think we can do it.
Well, they would,
about
I'm sure,
but they come in on scouts, and I know I can shoot down a scout in a few seconds.
But we talked about this, doing it with teams like that, with ships in the air and people on the ground. And I'm like, if, there's all these stations shut down and we're trying to power them back up and stuff, we would go in with, attempt to do it with overwhelming firepower. Right. I think that would be cool. 2-3 ships in the air, your ground team going in, just decimating everything in the air, powering it back up, move to the next one. That's what we would be doing as humanity, wouldn't we? We'd be just powering this shit back up as quick as we could. And it does sound like stupid fun. And I hope we get a chance to go experiment with that tomorrow night and doing a team of, air and ground, finally getting the sphere of combat they had talked about in the past, finally getting that together. I think it feels so close. And if we can do it, it's here.
It's such a great thing when it works. A couple of times you manage to get a whole bunch of people together. The game it's like night and day sometimes. But seeing what these buckyball guys do in terms of seriousness, or the way the AXI folks get together for their Finance Fridays, I feel like we could, without too much effort, get really fast at getting 8 people into the same location, as long as nobody got killed. A quick little bit of split one wing into 2 wings, and you've got 8 people.
Yeah, but see, we ran into the other night with it just being 1 wing, where also
I know.
Trax went invisible on me.
Right.
It's like, you're not there. And it turned into this whole rescue
Rabbi
thing.
Bob ended up in that was why he was curious about the log stuff, because he ended up stuck outside the instance.
Rabbi Bob didn't get the blue column to get back in the ship. It just wasn't there. He wasn't allowed to board the ship, and it just took some logging.
I feel like there is some level of art to it. That because we don't want to pay, or because we don't pay subscriptions and we don't have big net servers, we are at the whim of a system more complex than the code can control. So you do things like jump into an instance where you should be able to see everybody, but you're not there. So you keep the location locked, point your ship away, jump, and then immediately, as soon as possible, drop back out of Super Cruise. And as often as not, or maybe a little better than that, it works and you get into the right instance. Like I feel like there are some things that we either do and don't know we're doing when it works, or things that we can do to, nudge ourselves. We all VPN into the same, into Cleveland or something like that. Little things that we could master that would let us get 8 people into 8 people into a single instance, because the game can do it. We know it can do it. We've seen it. We've been part of it. If we could do it whenever we wanted, it would be like relative mouse toggle.
Is that your new super victory?
He's just on a roll right now. QED. Okay, well, either way, I think the mission was very fun. I believe it will be fun to do it this way. Most of the time spent in the mission is sneaking around and approaching without trying to having to approach from far away and stuff like that. So the other way to do it is, let's be noticed. Anyway, we'll try that too.
Bring the pain.
Right. The other thing, let's see, the other fun bit of this, I wonder how easy it would be to stack those missions. I wonder how often they show up. I haven't looked for them very much. This is all pretty new. And
when I was looking,
we're still on the
by
fresh
myself.
On the ground.
There's so many settlements, though.
Yeah, but you got to keep track of how far. I mean, how far away do you want to go?
There is that.
Because I've seen some horror stories posted in Discord here of people taking the mission and discovering that it's 620,000 light seconds.
DJ had one 350 or something earlier.
Yeah, it's like going to the black hole in Maya. Just oh man. Anyway, so let's see. Well, okay, so there's another major thing that happened, and that is the Thargoid Pulse Neutralizer module has been added.
Yes.
So this is a tech broker unlock. The recipe is per unit. So it is not an unlock and then purchase. So it costs 5 units of the massive energy surge data, which you get from bouncing off of the Maelstrom.
By just going and hitting your head against something.
So you get one unit of that each time you do it. So you got to bounce off the Maelstrom at least 5 times. And then you got to get some other stuff. So it wants propulsion elements, which are a thargoid material, which you get from destroyed thargoid ships. This is apparently one of the current known issues is, I believe it was intended that those were supposed to also drop from the caustic generators in the Maelstrom. So you kind of should be able to get everything you need from within the Maelstrom, but currently it's not working that way.
Without killing anybody, yeah, right.
Yeah, so you have to instead go somewhere where you can shoot down scouts or interceptors. I theorized, I think I was talking to DJ Wiley, I was theorizing that you might be able to find these really good in alert systems if you're not strong on the Thargoid combat and you're trying to keep it light, because there are plenty of signal sources in Thargoid alerts that involve NPC ships who would fight waves of scouts that come in and things like that. So you should be able to find some stuff in there. And I swear I've seen
I'd have thought even the capital ship wreckage ones might.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is some of them, the capital ships and some other ones actually begin with a debris field. And I've seen Thargoid materials. Now, I gave him that advice. He reported back that he had tried 2 or 3 of those, and propulsion elements happened to not be among the materials floating around, but he did manage to find what he needed after a bit of looking around, probably from kind of bumming around and letting some scouts get killed and hopefully participating a little bit. So you don't need like a ton of this stuff, but yeah, you need some bits and bobs of things. And then you unlock a Thargoid Pulse Neutralizer. Now this one works exactly the same way as the shutdown field neutralizer, except it does consume more power, and it consumes a ton more distro power, which I think is kind of the biggest deal here. So like in a Krite that has a size 7 distributor, the regular shutdown field neutralizer lasts several seconds with 4 pips and systems. And this thing blows through my whole capacitor in like 2 seconds.
And it only affects your ship.
Yeah, and it has it has 0 range, so you can't cover any area. So it is not going to replace your standard shutdown field neutralizer for combat. It's really just for this one thing, for making it into the Maelstrom. But when you do that,
You made it clear that you can't help somebody else into the maelstrom. There was the XI folks I know were planning on going in as soon as humanly possible, and hopefully they'd be able to have one person who they knew was going to be getting a neutralizer pull folks through. But nope, got to have the thing for yourself.
And gotta have it on your own. So with that, you can assign it to a ship and then make it in there. Note that you should definitely be bringing heat sinks with you, because at least the first pulse always imparts just a shitload of heat onto my ship. So that first one, I do the neutralizer, and then shortly after that, a heat sink gets fired.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not the neutralizer itself that causes the heat, because if you just fire it off by itself, it doesn't heat you. But for some reason, the second pulse never seems to heat me. I'm not sure if it's because I'm too close and I'm really not actually being hit by the pulse anyway. But I do fire off 2 charges of it just to be sure. I haven't really tested not firing it the second time.
Maybe that's their plausibility. It converts the intense electromagnetic energy into heat.
Well, I went
because I noticed I was cooking too, and I hadn't done anything to justify it, and hadn't experienced spontaneous combustion anywhere else inside the maelstrom.
Well, I went in for my first time here during the show here, my first time actually into the maelstrom, because I actually did the unlock of both the pulse, the new Thargoid pulse neutralizer, which
it should be called Titan pulse neutralizer.
It should be some different kind of name, because literally when you're looking at it and you're comparing stats of the shutdown field neutralizer and the Thargoid pulse neutralizer, and if you're not actually reading the names, it's got the same icon and everything else, and the one actually looks like it has better stats. It's kind of confusing if you're not paying attention. And what was that?
We don't know if it shuts down the Orthrus pulse, right? I mean, by name, it should shut down any Thargoid pulse.
It should.
I know we were talking about that.
I haven't tested
go find one.
No, let's not talk about finding an Orthrus. Jesus Christ, no.
So the only reason I'd be interested in that is if it prevents the Guardian module degrading properties. Yeah, so because it would be more of a pain to use, again, because of how much quicker it drains the distributor. So I haven't tested it yet. If somebody wants to test the TP neutralizer on an Orthrus pulse with Guardian modules on your ship, any Guardian module other than a hull reinforcement.
Somebody has to.
I haven't heard it. I haven't
followed it.
Maybe nobody can be bothered.
I'm waiting for Meccan to try it.
But what I was saying is
trying everything first.
Going into the maelstrom, yes, you get that high heat on the first time you stop it. The second time, I don't know if you have to neutralize
it doesn't seem like it hits you.
You don't get the heat.
Once and,
Okay, so you did not. I pulsed each time. Just
me too.
Just
I think it might have just been timing. I didn't really. Yeah.
Okay, so and then I got in there and was messing around, and then then I got a couple hunters and interceptors and scouts. And scouts, that's one thing. Have we mentioned how much more dangerous scouts are right now?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of treating that as a rumor, but everybody's agreeing, and I don't know if we're suffering mass hysteria or what, but everybody says the scouts have been, since the update, seem to be behaving like they're in berserk mode all the time.
100%, because I used to, you get hyper-predicted by scouts in the past. It'd be like, I'd be annoyed because I'd have to do a repair limpet to repair 1 or 2% hull, as I'm running away from them. It's like, God damn it, my OCD, I need to repair that. Now, consistently, they take 10, 12, 14% of my hull when I get hyper-predicted by scouts, and there's no avoiding it. The same speed ship and same armor and everything else, they are cutting me down.
I also think that they're no longer sitting right up against the station they can't do anything about, shooting it or shooting the ground next to it as well.
I think that was in the notes.
There's been, it makes sense. You add a new variant, you're going to update the AI for the NPCs.
Well, we saw when we were on the ground, scouts doing weird ass shit floating around. That one was just kind of like sitting there all.
But we weren't in ships, right? So scouts are designed to attack ships.
Yeah, and that one was maybe 100 meters off the ground, just kind of, I don't know,
buzzing
chilling
around.
Yeah, he wasn't.
We shot it with a rocket.
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's what I do.
But yeah, so there were some rumors early on that. My favorite was that the developers accidentally swapped the damage for the Titan cannon with the Scout cannon. And that was why you could stand there all day getting shot by the Titan.
That was a
but
good
if you were
theory.
anywhere near a Scout, you'd get ripped to shreds.
Interesting theory, except that Scouts have this berserk mode that they can be put into, and it does affect not only their damage, but their accuracy. In fact, maybe that's the thing it really affects. It's like their accuracy and how aggressively they pursue you and shoot at you, which is probably the real, probably the only full explanation for this amount of damage change, right?
It's almost like they heard us being really dismissive about killing Scouts about the time all the new human AX weapons came out. Oh, you think Scouts are easy, huh? Well, all right.
Right. Well, I mean, they have berserk mode, which and if they never go out of berserk mode, then there is no berserk mode anymore. So it's definitely a bug, right?
It's just mode.
But we'll see.
I have to admit, so we gotta check out some conflict zones, especially I mean, ground or space, because if we're gonna get stuck in perma scout mode, you know, if we're gonna have a
perma berserk,
if we're gonna have like nothing but Scouts for 20 minutes and they're all fighting like that, I might go look for a settlement to activate.
That's true. Yeah,
maybe that was the point.
I was interested to see that's the one thing I haven't tried yet is conflict zones, AX conflict zones in control systems, because I want to have conflict zones that involve higher level interceptors, just as the combatants. But yeah, maybe we'll wait to try them in earnest until the Scout thing gets fixed.
The one thing I
if
find
it is going to get fixed, I mean, they might say, we never promised you Scouts were going to be easy to kill. And
but it's berserk mode though. Then they have to have a different move.
No, you're right. It does feel like a behavior
otherwise,
issue.
there's nothing that the berserker variant would do then.
That's a good point.
What I find interesting is everybody's obsession with collecting all the new mats inside of there that nobody has any idea if they're going to do anything. Well, everybody's assuming they will have a purpose at some point, but
okay.
I mean, that's why I had 100 propulsion elements in my
I was full on every Thargoid mat because I've been doing AX combat for a while, and I just pick the crap up for no reason. And now everybody's like, "Where am I going to find propulsion elements?" I'm like, "Oh shit."
You gotta kill a nasty Scout.
I guess from blowing up stuff. Like, I don't know. I did this ages ago because I just had all those mats have been full for me for ages.
That's what I'm saying and there was no real purpose for them for a long time. And then now all of a sudden, so I don't see the urgency to get in there and fill up all those.
I was
buckets.
So I went in there on Wednesday, I think. Anyway, so I pushed my way into the Maelstrom and bummed around. I think the ideal ship to do it is a Krite Mark II. It's that huge distributor and the huge power plant. The fact that you can use a power plant modded with low emissions and thermal spread and still have enough power to run everything that you need. So my suggestion: go in there, bring enhanced AX multi-cannons and a thermal vent laser. And you'll want caustic sinks because you'll need those on the way in. Although once you get in there, one cloud is no longer caustic. And then
you don't need more than one.
And then you need that pulse neutralizer, of course. That no way you're getting in there otherwise. And then I would bring a heat sink and then also an enhanced Xeno scanner. Nothing gets scanned on the Titan, but if you do engage with any of the Thargoids that are in there, you won't be able to target hearts without it. So that's the other thing that I put in a slot. So those are my 4 things. And then just, armor and module reinforcements. Once you're in there, in the outside of the Maelstrom, there's no real reason to have module reinforcements. But once you get inside of it, it's back. You need them again. So now I'm back to kind of a regular build with repair limpets and an AFM and module armor.
Those hunters eat modules.
Yeah, the hunters, all we see is the Glaive variants now, but they chew you up. I don't yet see a good way to avoid their damage. It's not like an interceptor where you can manage a flight path. They dictate the range of the fight with impunity.
I tried. I was saying before the show we were talking about it. I got hyperdicted, not interdicted. I hyperdicted jumping into a Maelstrom system. It was my first time seeing a Glaive, And I fought it. I had 3. I was in my Phantom that boosts to 590 and has 3 AX multi-cannons and a thermal vent beam laser. And I fought this thing, I was kind of feeling it out, my first time seeing it. And I got it down in the 30% range or whatever. And then I'm like, this is going to be close. I was getting beat up. So then I wanted to see how fast it was. So I just tried running away from it. Boosting at 590, that thing caught me and passed me doing lightning laughing. It was
okay. So, but the lightning stops you dead. So is that the thing? Did it lightning you, and that's why it caught off?
I had a good amount of distance from it. I was specifically moving away from it, and I saw it in my path. And then all of a sudden, it stopped me dead in my path and did that. But I tried running away in different directions, and 590 was not enough. So maybe it's my first time in there encountering one. Maybe I was trying to get looks at it that I shouldn't have, but I'm pretty proficient with FA off and keeping my vector and taking a peek at this or that. And that thing seemed like when it wants to catch you, it catches you. So correct me if I'm wrong. So
I don't know. I've only encountered them so far around the Titan. So they emerge from the Titan, and so I'm there messing around. I try to kind of stay unnoticed because what I was mostly doing was just bumming around looking at the thing and collecting materials. But eventually they, one of them notices me. So at this point, I've shot down several of them. It wasn't particularly hard, but I also wasn't trying to get away, or I wasn't even really trying to evade the thing. I was mostly just treating it like something where I was going to tank the damage and just keep my multi-cannons trained on it as much as possible, and my laser. And it is utterly not bothered by me being at 0% heat while I do all this. Not that I was I'm not managing to orbit or evade it in a way either. So, if you're standing still cold to an interceptor, it'll still hit you. You've got to be moving out of the way of its shots to cause it, being cold reduces their accuracy.
Yeah, but you're an FA off pilot. You're never sitting still in combat.
No, I'm not. And yeah, so the Glaive fight's completely different. I should say the Hunter, this Glaive type, it can use lightning whenever it wants.
Yep.
As long as it's close enough. It has cannons. In the meantime, the lightning will turn off your modules and damage them. It'll randomly reboot modules, which is annoying, and stop you dead in your tracks for a while. So you may as well just not bother trying to evade it, and just it's almost like a DPS race, or at least that's how I feel about it right now.
Did you notice anything about the flight model when you were fighting it?
It's hard to I feel like being in the Maelstrom is disorienting.
That's true.
There's other stuff going on, so I really couldn't. That's why I'm not surprised to hear that it's super quick, but it also will. It'll fly like a scout sometimes, it'll turn on a dime and just change momentum very quickly in a way that human ships just don't do. So it's kind of difficult to say. All I was doing was trying to maintain like a reasonable range.
Right.
And I'm sure I stayed moving, but it really didn't matter. It wasn't a concentration of mine. But the cannon is damaging. The lightning is damaging. The tough part was just face tanking direct cannons to the face and keeping your canopy alive. That's what you want those module reinforcements for.
See, I'd like to fight it in a chieftain rather than a crate just to see, because I'd get a better idea of exactly how it's moving. And as we mentioned, the crate, however you want to pronounce it, how
crate is correct, but obviously people say crate all the time.
And people say sake instead of sake, so I guess we'll just go with what people say. But it definitely, like I said, it was my first time in there, so I'm speaking from complete noob experience.
Yeah,
and having a ship, like I said, being in a chieftain, I think it would have been an entirely different experience. But
it'd be interesting to see if you can make its main cannon miss, because I really wasn't able to do that, or I really wasn't trying very hard.
Yeah, it felt like it could damage me at will. I didn't feel I had any control over what it was doing.
Right. And it drops a quad set of missiles. They behave a little bit differently than interceptor or scout caustic missiles, but they basically seem like they do kind of the same thing. But they seek you. I also was observing it while it was, because I was in there with some other folks, and I watched when it didn't know I was there, when I was invisible. I watched it fight some other people, Audaxias mostly, and but when I'm watching it fight other people, I could see some of what's going on. The missiles deploy kind of from the spikes, but then something else fell out of the back, and it was so the missiles say something like Thargoid Seeker, right? And they glow. They have a yellow glow that you can see. And then there was this other object that didn't have any kind of glow or emissive visual. And I targeted it, and from memory, I think it was called like Unknown Missile or Unknown Seeker or something like that. And it was also tumbling around and doing strange things. It was definitely seeking something, but it didn't have a glow. It was another object, and so a different kind of missile. It looked more like the missiles that come from the Titan itself.
Well,
so
I noticed,
we've got some new weapons to
I was
learn about here.
eating missiles and not getting Caustic, and then I did get Caustic another time or two and wasn't sure exactly how or why.
So maybe that fifth missile that tumbles out of the back is a Caustic missile.
That's possible.
And the rest of them are just damage. Could be.
It could be. Yeah. It would take a lot more than my one quick run in with it. But
so besides that it has these higher speed, higher agility. Basically, it can walk right up to you no matter how fast you're going, and dictate the range of the fight, like I said. And its guns, like, it doesn't have any other sort of combat mechanics. There's no hearts or anything like that to mess around with, as we expected. It's
just shields and hull.
Yeah, it's a lot tougher than a scout, but it goes down, and it deploys a shield whenever its lightning fires, and if the shield isn't depleted, it will recharge the shield when its lightning fires. So ultimately, it would be advantageous to stay out of range of the thing, but it sounds from your experience like that's not going to be an option. For the most part. So
once again,
it's mostly like you wear down its shield. Yeah, you wear down its shield, and then you have you have as much damage on the hull as you can. It never seems to heal its hull. So you put up whatever you can. You know, I was getting something like 25% of its hull between shield regens.
Well, and right now, it just something as simple as you said, it regens its shields during lightning. That right there would have saved. I probably would have done a lot more damage to it, because I was still shooting it when it was lightninging me, and it seems like its shield is impervious at that point, and it's just like, wait until it's done shooting.
Yeah, so it's like as soon as its shield gets to that 50% mark and fires back up, it fires a shield booster or a shield cell bank and fires the lightning. You know, like that's how it kind of behaves.
Yeah, I might have changed tactics just a little bit. I was just wasting.
The shield doesn't decay, though?
I'd
like
finish shooting my multi-cannons until they're reloading, and then wait for the shield, to quit lightning, then start shooting again. So I've got full clips at that point. I don't know, just
that would
tactics
be good. Yeah.
I might try or popping in my head now.
And obviously, it'll be much better if there's more people. Or if we can get them in situations where we have Guardian guns.
And that's just it. In a high prediction, I would have had Guardian guns. I probably would have eaten that thing's lunch.
Right. I wonder, I've never seen one outside of the Maelstrom, and it sounds like nobody's ever seen one outside of the Maelstrom system itself.
Well, I did tonight, because it was, get hyperdicted here back in the system you were jumping from.
Oh, okay.
So I fought one.
But you were loaded for bear for the Maelstrom.
Yeah, so I was in a Maelstrom ship. Yeah, I was going to investigate the Maelstrom, looking to run as cold as possible, looking to research, looking to collect. So my ship was not by any stretch like the crate that I soloed a Hydra in. This was a crate that I was going to, I've got a Caustic sync launcher, and I've got this new Thargoid pulse thing, and I've got, I was not fit for combat, but I gave it a go, and then I wanted to see how fast the thing was, well, I got it down to 18%, so I felt pretty good about that. And I think if I wouldn't have tried to experiment with running away, I probably would have killed it, but I was going to be at probably 10% hull when it was dead. And I wasn't trying to do any repair limpets in the middle. I was literally, there were no tactics That's an issue. What it was.
Yeah, you can't get away to repair.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even attempt to repair limpet because I'm under constant fire when I'm engaged with that thing.
But that's how sometimes you get your repair limpet. You know, when you angle your ship right, you can sometimes get some repair going. So
maybe I'm gonna keep. I mean, the thing. Well, there's like a mass jump going on at my carrier right now of NPCs. The thing that I would think about the next time I engage with some is I'll probably be on top of AFMing my canopy because I doubt I can really work a repair limpet, and it didn't do enough damage to my. Like I said, I've shot down a few. I'm in the Maelstrom system and just sort of like face tanking it and applying as much damage as I can with multi-cannons. It didn't really do enough damage to take me out or anything, but it was, I was at like 50% or something when I'm done. So I would finish, and then I need to like get cold again and use some repair limpets in order to stay active around the Titan. But I would hear that cracking, and it's like, oh my God, I can't do anything about this.
Yeah.
I got to reach over and use an AFM on my canopy, which, by the way, in case you don't know, you normally don't have to do. Because repair limpets also repair your canopy. Yes, and we're running long. So, okay, let's talk about the Titan for a second. It's awesome and it's massive, and you need to go see it.
But there's not really anything incredibly interesting.
There's not a ton to do. Yeah, you do just kind of mill around, don't you?
And marvel in the scale and weirdness and the awesome sound effects.
And they're layering that in for more later.
For sure. Yes. For sure. It's cool to hear. It's cool to watch the animals come in and out of the... I still think of thargoids as animals. Like, I think the Titan is an animal. I think these are all, like, different species or subspecies of the thargoid race, like the Titan is a particular creature or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I went in nature photographer style in my cold orca and just got it nestled in as far inside the folds of the Titan as I could find, and then just went free camera and watched Thargoid International Airport for a couple hours. And
you're amongst friends, you can say it. You were in its cloaca.
You were in its cloaca.
Actually, I was right. I was cloaca adjacent, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is actually in the lore here that the Thargoids do have something that is like foot soldier sized. That is some part of these ships. And I don't know if that means the ships aren't animals, or maybe they are, but they are still piloted by other things. But because we have, like, even in this recently in the last year, this game, we have audio logs of Salvation when he was Caleb Wycherley,
the thing that took Wycherley's eye,
talking about the one that they captured, and they have it in a cage, and he describes it as this savage animal, So like they have a body that is something like
Yes.
So what's the blue pumpkin? I was in there. I was in there by myself, and nobody pissed it off. So I just had the peaceful Thargoid airport.
So the Titan has it has a few attacks. It has these turrets that can shoot these sort of like slow moving cannon shots, and they're very inaccurate and don't do a lot of damage. And apparently there's also some missiles, but I've hardly ever seen those. It produces a lot of interceptors. It can produce scouts also, but mostly it seems to produce glaives and interceptors. And then it occasionally, so at first I think people thought that what they were seeing was the thing pulsing to prevent someone else from coming in, because it does this great roar. It sounds just like the one from the cutscene, and then this blue light happens, and it's a torus shaped thing, like a magnetic field around the whole machine. But I was in there, and several people came in while I was there, and it never did that when they said pulses were going off at the time, and they were in my instance.
Right.
And likewise, I've seen it go off when I know for a fact nobody was trying to come in. So at this point, I think it's an attack. I think that's like its biggest weapon. And the thing is, I didn't think that at first because I didn't suffer any damage. And it didn't seem to affect me. But I think the issue is if you're outside of that torus shape, it doesn't really do anything. But if you get caught within it, I was in my ship had 2,500 hull, and I was coming out of there at 50%, after one of these things going off, and it tossed me all around. My modules were all torn to hell. Every module in this ship had taken significant damage. So if you're within the actual lines of that magnetic field, it's devastating. So at this point, that's what I think. It's a beautiful, spectacular attack.
It is cool. One thing that I found interesting was you mentioned how you're in the same instances. When you're flying towards the center in the maelstrom, you know, and it does its pulse and stuff. I thought that when we passed through the pulse, it'd be another instance inside, but you can see people's beam lasers and shit when you're approaching it. So you're in the same instance there when you're, 50 kilometers out, which was interesting to me. And I don't know how that works. I don't know. I assume everybody probably assumed it was different instances, but it's one instance.
Right. I've been in there and I can see people lasering outside when they're messing around with the generators, the caustic generators and stuff. And likewise, you can, if somebody's inside at the Titan, you can see their lasers from the outside, I think.
Yeah, it's super cool and definitely sets the mood and the tone and really makes you feel like you're in that maelstrom together. But I'm still it mesmerizes me that that's one instance. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are 3 different materials that you can collect when you're in there, and you get them from various spots around the thing. So there's these heat vents, and you'll see these little burn marks appear, and if you laser them or shoot them with some kind of gun, a little material will break off. And then all over the thing, there'll be these little green marks, and those are like hardened bits of carapace or something, and you can laser those off and collect those. I think that's the grade 5 mat is the heat one, I think. And then there's another one that is around the membranes where the ships emerge from. There's some around the ends of the petals, and then there's one big one in the middle. But around the ends of the petals are where you want to look for that other mat, and you'll find these little glowing, these patches of texture that look like glowing orange spots. And around those, there will be some that they're sort of raised up and they're a little different color, and those are the ones for. So I don't know what we're doing with them, but I spent a few hours in the maelstrom one night and filled up on all that stuff. And anyway, I've got tons of them, whatever they're for. Spent a lot of time just hanging around with the thing.
In the commodities market.
What's that?
There are a few other tissue sample materials that you can sell.
Oh, really?
In the commodity markets, yeah. Huh. They're all Titan related. There's like Titan deep tissue sample, Titan intermediate sample, like 3 or 4 different things that are clearly tissue samples that we will at some point be able to get from a Titan.
Oh, okay. Well, currently there's nothing that you can scan, so there's nothing that you can find a port for a research limpet for. So that'll be, I guess that's teasing future content.
Wow.
Update 16, I suppose.
Update 16, here
or
it
something
comes.
They might turn on. Who knows? It was a big update.
Maybe we just need a different scanner or something, right? Or a different limpet. But anyway.
What I want is an interdiction interrupter of some kind. Jesus Christ, getting to the maelstrom is a chore.
Yeah.
We get analytics from it, so it seems likely that it'll show up at some point.
Yeah, and this is part of what we're doing. I mean, these missions to restore settlements, like I said, once you get the thing up and running, they ask you to collect some data, and that's when the mission completes. So they're getting some kind of telemetry or data about the Thargoid attack, and so this is all it's contributing toward taking back the system, but I think it's also contributing toward just the overall progression of when we can turn the tides on these clowns. So. And also one note, I had written a few more things down that were like outside of didn't make it into the patch notes or were like existing bugs that people have found. One of them being that the fire at these abandoned settlements seems to be vacuum proof. So when you power it up and then vent the air, it doesn't do anything. So don't bother messing with any of that. Just get in and get out.
It's just on fire.
It's just going to be on fire.
Just turn on your shields.
That is... Those fires are being fueled by whatever's in the pipe, not whatever's in the air. There's an oxidizer in the pipe itself, so whatever. And also, so this is just random. This is stuff I'm like repeating stuff I've heard. Apparently, the profile analyzer has been seen having some kind of kinetic push effect on objects. I don't know anything about that. Apparently, I'm told that's happening. That's it. I've covered everything that I wrote down for this show.
I just saw today there might be some issue with illumination of exerted hearts on thargoids. Some interceptors are apparently not showing all the customary lighting effects when their hearts are exerted.
Now, I couldn't see which heart. Well, it looked different. It was difficult to see which heart was exerted when I fought interceptors, but I was fighting them in the maelstrom, so I figured it was just because I was in there.
Yeah, no, the report I came across on the AXI Discord, I think it was something to the effect of the smoke effect is still there, and the particle effect that comes around the sort of smoldering-looking heart, and the heart itself is illuminated, but the white petals around the heart were not showing up as white, which makes it a fair bit harder to see.
Right, okay.
And then it's an intermittent thing, so it's clearly a bug.
Right on.
Also sleepy hydras seem to have come back a little bit. A few reports of hydras that don't do anything other than sit there and get killed. But that's about as much as I've come across. Yeah. And, of course, the cranky scouts.
Yeah.
With the sand and the cloacas.
All right, we're approaching 2 hours. We want to put a fork in this?
Yeah.
Yep. My final thoughts are this is all pretty close to when it was released, and a lot of this stuff's a moving target, and some of it we're still like, I'm pretty sure that blue thing's an attack, but we'll learn more soon, I guess.
Well, we did get the new interdiction thing today, so this could be evolving as we move right now.
The new interdiction, what do you mean?
Well, where I got hyperdicted, I mean, we weren't seeing hunters hyperdicting anybody or interdicting people. Now, all of a sudden today, there's all these reports of that. So it seems like we've got an ongoing evolution going on. So we could be, that pulse attack could be different today. Who knows?
The hunters may be spreading. I also noted just before we started the show, I did an experiment. I flew out to an abandoned settlement in a controlled system, in a Counter-Strike controlled system, and verified that there are no Revenant there when I didn't have a mission. So you need the mission if you're going to go find Revenant. That was a question. I can't remember who asked. But anyway, I discovered the answer. That's all I have.
Boom. Feels like a show.
Feels like a show. We're definitely going to skip all the other stuff.
Yeah, my movies, they were garbage this week. Cheese, craft singles were originally... Hold on, real quick. We're going to go craft signal fact. Sound like a plan? I've got one. In 1950, they came out as Kraft Deluxe Process Squares. Was the first year they came out as like individual slice things, and that's what they were called. And then in 1965 is when they came out in individually wrapped instead of just a block of slices. So there you go. There's our craft signals stats of the week.
That is the worst. We're going to skip this part I have ever heard.
Good judging me.
You did such a bad job.
Judging me.
Especially since he didn't actually skip it.
Well, that's what he's saying, man. Jeez, it's past your bedtime.
It was a complete failure.
Utter failure. Okay, everybody. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope you get out there and have some fun. Feel free to hop in Discord, ask questions about the new content. We are here to help. If you're not into AX Combat, we can help you get the bits you need to get in there and see the Maelstrom. If you stay cold in there, you can go unnoticed for a really long time, and it could be fun for anybody, even if you don't want to go for combat. And
it's creepy and eerie. I'm going in there in my VR headset right after the show.
Okay, bring a thermal vent beam laser, and you can laser the Titan itself. Any of that will work to cool you, so there's just always a surface nearby you to laser to without a target. So, don't bring a turret. A bunch of us used turrets when we were in Thargoid combat. Use a gimbal instead, because you won't be targeting the Titan, so you want to use a gimbal instead. Anyway, if you like the show,
random question. Yeah. If you're near a planet, can you just shoot a planet with a gimbal thermal vent and cool yourself?
I don't know. It'll take me longer.
This is so weird.
It'll take me longer than we have in the show left to get to this moon and try. I doubt it. I think you have to. Anyway,
well,
whatever.
you're hitting something.
Okay.
The Titan is obviously all right. Never mind.
The Titan is a thargoid craft. I don't care what you say. All right,
it just kind of sits there like a planet.
Sits there and occasionally screams and roasts us with blue lights.
There is that.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you like the show, give us a rating. Join us on the thing, and you can support the show on patreon.com/loosescrewsed.
All right, quit talking.
It's going to be great. All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chig.
Bye-bye.
Indigo.
Thank you,
Nurgle. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.